Right now I would like to call upon another sister, and she's going to do a toast to the parents. Joyce, please.
Anyway, I guess with those after 50, some of us gets older and have to wear glasses, which some other people don't bother to put on.
Because Mama don't see me.
Anyway, Reverend Sirs, ladies and gentlemen, Mom and Dad, how can one begin to toast such a milestone as this? There have been so much said and so much that will be left unsaid. We could be here until the next anniversary if we could say everything we wanted to say. I have been given the honor of making a toast on behalf of the children to Mom and Dad on the occasion of their golden wedding anniversary. What a milestone. 50 years. Done. 10,927 days left to go before we reach the 50th. First, I must say the reason I have been chosen is because I am the biggest and the middle child, which will be explained further on. Anyway, I don't know if you would call this a toast or more of a tribute. Mom and Dad married December 23rd, 1947. Bill have already done this, but I'm going to do it anyway. They have 5 children who are all present tonight: Bill, Carol, Sandra, Nancy, and me. The family has now grown to in-laws and 13 grandchildren. I have learned, or I hope that I have learned, many values and lessons growing up, and many of them are only coming to light now that I have my own children, and especially now that they are all teenagers, and 2 with driver's license. Isn't that right, Darren Darrell? I am sure that the rest of the family feels the same way. Quite often we never had the materials of life that young people yearn for, and lots of times can never understand why there wasn't money for that new pair of designer jeans or sneakers, or why we couldn't go on a trip somewhere, why we had to wear hand-me-downs, why Mom and Dad did without so much that we could go somewhere, sometimes special, or maybe get a new pair of jeans. I certainly know what the reasons are now when my children ask for things or want to go somewhere. There were several things that I remember quite well. We always had lots to eat, clothes on our backs. Of course, we always went to church and Sunday school. Sometimes, though, it may have been against our will. But that never hurt us. Mom and Dad made sure that we all had good educations. When I look at my children and other children, I wonder what they would do if they had to do what we done. When we were younger and at home, Dad worked as a carpenter, and when he wasn't doing that, he was sharpening saws, which he still does, or working in the garden, never any idle time on his hands. Always something to be done, except, of course, on Sundays. Mom never worked outside the home. She was always there looking after us, making sure that we had good things to eat, nice clothes to wear, clothes she would make from scratch, or warm caps, mittens, and sweaters to wear in the winter, time which she still does for the grandchildren. We always had homemade bread, which we mentioned here tonight, which she still does, and my dad, she still makes mine. While they were doing that, we all had to pitch in and help, but I still think I got the want of it, because the span between us goes like this. First came Bill. 2 days short of a year came Carol. 6 years later, I came along. 4 years later came Sandra, and 4 years later came, last but not least, Nancy. Being the middle child brings a lot of responsibility, even right up to this day. Bill and Carol were off to work. Sandra and Nancy were too young, so I always had my chores, like Charlotte mentioned. Sawing up the wood, fencing with Dad, babysitting for Mom, making hay for the horse, and collecting vegetable scraps that Aunt B used to keep. And other people, everyone around Darrow used to keep their scraps for the horse. And by the way, what thanks did he give me? Now, this is a true story, by the way. Dad and Bill were in Whitburn, getting Bill's mobile home ready to move into. Mom was gone somewhere. Well, she was gone off getting her hair done for Noel's wedding. Somebody calls the house, and the horse is up in the dock and doesn't look too well. Of course, who was left over to go fetch him? Me. I goes up to the dock, gets the horse. We're doing great, coming home. But as many of you know, that when we turned to go up Forrester's Hill, Black Bill, that was the horse's name, stopped. He looked up the hill, and he dropped dead in the ditch. chores had to be done. And when I think back on those days, I know now that it never done me any harm. It probably made me a much better person. For which, yes, that's true. For which I thank him, and I hope I pass those traits on to my children. When we were growing up, I got a big speech for it, right? When we were growing up, there are certain things that comes to mind. Like now, there was always room at the table for one or more, or maybe five, or whoever came. And there was always a bed for someone to sleep in. Of course, putting other people out of her bed wasn't a problem. When Carol went off to trade school or work in St. John's, we never knew who would be coming for a weekend. Carol always managed to bring someone home for the weekend. And then there was Bill, the way he introduced us to Linda. They came home late one night, everybody was asleep, and when Mom and Dad got up the next morning, Bill informs them that he brought his girlfriend home. This is how we met Linda, and she liked us that much she decided to stay. But if she'd known down, maybe she'd stick around. Of course, anyone with a family has their share of worries. The one that comes to mind the most, and the one I remember the best, is the trouble they had with Sandra. We used to go to the old United Church School up in the harbour. It was the beginning of the school year. Sandra just started kindergarten, or primer, as it was called back then. The teacher got mad, and Gary followed, Sandra's best friend. She bawled at him, or she smacked him, or she done something anyway. Anyway, Sandra didn't like it too much. I can see her now. She jumps up from her seat and runs home to Mom. She never came back for months. And that's true too, by the way. Now, I can't leave Nancy out. Nancy is the baby of the family. Being the baby of the family definitely has its fringe benefits. I remember the day they brought Nancy home from the hospital. Not like it is today. Sandra and I didn't have a clue that we were getting a new baby sister until they brought her home and laid her on the couch. What a shock. Nancy seemed like she always got what she wanted, and the worst thing was she was allowed to stay up later than any of the rest of us. But the first time she stayed away from home, she went up to the Anglican rectory with the Browns to sleep out in a tent. Around 10:30, she was back home again in the safety of her own bed. They started telling stories, she got afraid and ran home. Now, there have been a few times, though, I still don't understand and figure out their reasoning behind it. Picture this scenario now. I was living in St. John's for a year and a half in my own apartment before I moved back home to work and eventually married. While living in town, I could go out when I like, come in when I like, and do what I like. No one to check on me. But when I came home for the weekends and stayed right up to the night before I was married, I had to be in at 12 o'clock. Anyways, we all got married and started to bring grandchildren home for Mom and Dad to babysit. Now, of course, once again, I had to be different. I couldn't be like the rest and bring one at a time. I had to really confuse them and bring home identical twin boys, who they couldn't tell apart, and now the boys are 17, they still can't tell them apart. The grandchildren range in age from 14 months to 21 years. So you can all see now they've been babysitting, I guess, for 47 years. By the way, Bill will be 47 on December 24th, and Carol will be 46 on the 22nd. But I'm still 39 and staying there. By the way, December is a special month in our family besides being Christmas, as already was mentioned. But Don and I were married in December, on December 3rd, and Carol's birthday is December 22nd. Mom's and Dad's anniversary is December 23rd, and Bill's birthday is the 24th. Mom and Dad has done so much over the years for all of us. I think lots of times we may have forgotten to say thank you. Well, from all of us, thank you and we love you. And before I finish, I would like to read this poem. From your children to Mom and Dad. Now that we're older, we understand how well you loved us, the hours you spent worrying, the sacrifices you made for us, the little things you always did to make our lives happy. Now that we're older, we understand what it means to be parents, and we're thankful we know what it means to be loved by wonderful parents like you. So please stand with me and raise your glasses to Mom and Dad, happy 50th anniversary.
Joyce, good job. Now I'd like to call up a friend of the family, Saturday or Sunday night visitor to Mom and Dad. When he leaves the house and gets home, they're watching the headlights of the car to see that when they got in the driveway, when that happens, then Mom goes to bed. And he has probably one of the best memories in Polygrave, because listening to him, I think he can remember 10 years before he was born. I'd like to call upon now John Mufford for a few words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. MC. Reverend Case, Reverend Snow, the Honourable Minister is here, John F. Roland did his job for him. First, I want, on behalf of me and my wife, to congratulate Ethel and Clayton on their 50th, our golden wedding anniversary. On behalf of Ethel and Clayton, I would like to thank the 5 children and the family for all the work and time they put into this party to make it a success. Also the ACW for such a beautiful meal, and anyone that helped in any way.